get this going. Give everyone a minute. If anyone's even here, to be honest.
Let me share it on.
And you're just like
stories.
Scheduling and rescheduling and scheduling and rescheduling. You just don't know what to expect, really.
It was, I mean, it's a weird read. That's what we're aiming for, right? So I feel like when you get strange reads, there's going to be more, hits and misses for people. You're going to have more of a variety of opinions.
Absolutely. Yep. Hello, Kim. Welcome, Ashley. I'm excited to talk about this one because I really, really liked it.
Loved.
It's like
it was definitely a surprise for me. Like I was a little nervous.
Exceeded my expectations for sure. All right, so welcome everyone to the Creatures of Passage live show, Stacks of Strange. So this was our July book. It's weird because it feels like it has been a long time since we had like a monthly book because we had no book in June.
That's right.
Because of the readathon, and it just feels like it's been so long since we've had like a live discussion on a book.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what a great one to come back with. I mean,
I know. I'm pleasantly surprised. I really wish, the only thing I wish is that I would have given it, like, I would have started it sooner.
So given it the time.
Yeah. Perhaps before I broke my glasses. That would have been nice.
Yeah, it was a lot deeper and like mixed in with like mythology and stuff. Like I was not expecting any of that. And I didn't read like the full synopsis at all until like halfway through the book, and people were like not complaining, but like saying like, oh, this is really, deep or dark or whatever. I didn't even read the full synopsis. I just knew it was about a woman who had a haunted car and she helped people travel. Like that's all I knew going in. So it was lots of shocking things.
Yeah.
That's all and I know that I did read the full synopsis at one point, but that's all I could really remember from it while reading this was just like that section, like the haunted car. And that was it. So like anything else just was complete surprise to me as well. I just don't tend to go back and reread summaries. Like I'll read it when it's like initially like when we pick it for the club, because obviously I want to see if it's going to be weird. Right. And then at that point, I just I end up forgetting it. And then by the time I read it, I'm like, I'm not going to read the synopsis just in case it gives too much away. And I just dive into the book. And then oftentimes I'm like, whoa, this is what it's about.
Well, can we just get into it, like spoilers or whatever?
You're like, I'm ready. Okay, let's go ahead and say give our ratings. Okay. And then we'll let people in the chat give their ratings, and then we can just jump into spoilers after that. That way, at least people, obviously they already know that we enjoyed the book. I'm probably giving it 5 stars because I can't think of anything that I disliked about it, to be honest.
Okay. I enjoyed it. I would give it like a 4.5. I don't remember how long it was. Over 300 pages, maybe? But I think
317.
300, and it was too long. I think the way that the author was introducing the characters and weaving them together would have packed the same punch in a 200-page book. I think this could have been a really, really strong novella.
Yeah.
It felt disjointed, but in a good way. in
Right.
a way that she didn't need all 300 pages to get the story out.
True. I
I still
definitely
really like it. The writing is amazing, and like it was really sad and heartbreaking, but
right.
Yeah.
Marcy?
This is like 5 stars for me. I loved it so much. And it was funny because I went in with reservations as well, especially because in the chat, amongst the hosts, they were like, oh, I couldn't get into it, or I didn't understand, all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And usually the books that we read, I hate to say it, but it's true. I'm more of a like hate than love for the majority of the books that we've read. So I was already a little bit guarded. But I mean, from the first sentence, it was just so full of atmosphere. And I think that's what I loved it. And I feel a little bit differently than Carol, because I could have done 100 more pages of that. Now, granted, it does not need 100 more pages. Like, I think it was perfect the way it was done. Were there areas where it was slower than others and we probably could have done without it? Yes, definitely. But just the writing and the way she weaved everything together, and the way that you weren't even realizing that you were reading new characters until like halfway through the chapter, and you're like, oh crap. And how at the end everything was just perfect. I'm in love.
Yeah, like I didn't know how like I don't know how to phrase that, like how she would introduce someone new, but you didn't know it. But then like the way that she would, it was like she would just like drop how they're connected somehow. Like it was just,
and it was just like this flow. It was just brilliantly written and very unique.
Yeah.
Oh, praise.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the way that she peppers in like information, like you're just gaining like all of this insight and like more clues, and like just the way that she peppers that in throughout the story, it never felt like it lulled for me. Like it just worked so well, because you're getting all these different like multiple perspectives, so many perspectives.
Yes.
I was not expecting that going into it either. And you're like questioning this person or like their past, and then like you don't have to get to the end to find out. Like there's just you're finding out this information about this person like in the next chapter, and you're like, yes, like it's just so satisfying in the way that
and it's not like the chapters are like, you don't like have like the character's name, like they're just titled something, and then you just kind of delve into it. Figure out as you go.
It's a lot of fun.
I need to say, like, my favorite chapter, I even marked it, is Requiem for the Living. I don't know why I love that chapter so much, but it was just so beautiful, and the way it encompassed the name of the chapter into the story. I was just amazed by it. But you know, another thing that I loved about this book that she did very well is how she made you feel like you were in a fantasy world, but at the same time,
it's reality.
In the real world.
Yes.
Like when you would go to Amber's house, it was like, I don't know, like Lord of the Rings, kind of like another dimension.
Yes. Like the local witch who lives like on the outskirts of town, or cottage or whatever.
And you can't see like through the clouds or the fog or the mist, whatever it is. And and then you would just go, you forget that there was a city on the top part of it. Brilliant.
Yeah. Love that. Anyone in the chat that read this book have a rating or anything before we get into spoilers? Or, I mean, we're going to get into spoilers. So if you are in the chat and you don't want to know what happened, because I would love to get into it, especially since we're on a roll talking about it. I'm trying to find that chapter just so I can like.
It is
figure out
the one that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, it is on page. It's around page 161. I don't know if you have the ebook.
Yes, I love that one too. Okay, I know, and that was funny because I was thinking that might be what you were talking about.
Oh, beautiful!
It's so cool. Okay, we're gonna spoil it up, like
spoil it up.
So that is the chapter in which, like, it's after Osiris has been murdered, and he's basically in this like veil between the living and the dead, and he's like where he's moving the bottles and stuff.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That part, I know, I loved that section where he talks about moving her bottles around, and I was like, that is so freaking
I know.
cool.
There was like parts where I would get goosebumps, like when you realize, because Amber would always be like, and I keep looking to the window because I feel somebody looking at me. Or when oh my gosh, what is her name? Nephthys?
It's like F this, but with an N.
No, and I listen to the audiobook, so I should know better than this. But I need to look at it. Nephthys, okay.
Nephthys, yeah. You want to say Nephthys in your head.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I want to as well.
When she with the bottle and the mirror, and then you come to realize
that it's him all along.
I was just like, oh my gosh, your dad is there. Look.
Yeah, and well, that's another thing of her like connecting the characters when Dash sees the Riverman and you don't like know who the Riverman is and for a while.
Yeah.
Goosebumps when you find out who it is, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I know.
But that
so
and that
crazy.
Nephthys, when Nephthys heard the Riverman, like she sort of paused without even knowing, you know.
Yeah, like subconsciously, she was like,
yes.
wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, it was so great. Like I don't even have like just the I don't even have words for all the connections and the reveals. And it's not even like not every reveal is some kind of like jaw-dropping shock value.
No,
like
it's enough to keep you interested as you're reading the story.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I like you guys, like I didn't have high expectations going in. Other hosts were saying that they couldn't get into the story. So when me jumping in, I was like, oh, this is gonna be rough. I should have started it sooner because it's probably gonna be hard for me to read. And I didn't feel that way. Like I just kept waiting for that lull to happen, and it just didn't, because every time something little was revealed, I was like, ooh, like this is juicy, this is good. And then I would just keep reading, and it just never felt like that long. And that's why I just could not have the live having not finished the book, because I needed to give it what it deserved and like finish it, because I was really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did, because it, like you said, it's a book you have to experience, and you just have to submerge yourself and just really like, I don't think there was one time during the audiobook, like usually whatever audiobook I'm listening to, whether I'm enjoying it or not, you find yourself for a few minutes like dazing off and not realizing it. I don't think there was one time that I did that with this book. And I don't know if you heard, Raine, but the audiobook is narrated by the author herself. So she just gave it like this voice. Oh, it was perfect.
Oh man, I have to check that out, because I would definitely love to like reread this. And I'm going to buy the physical book and have it in my collection, because
it's beautiful.
I was telling a friend about it yesterday. She was over for dinner and we were talking. She's like, "Oh, what's the book you're reading right now?" And she likes to hear about the weird books because she likes weird stuff. And so I was explaining the book to her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to borrow that one when you're done." I was like, "You'll have to wait, because I'm gonna have to buy the physical." Like I've been reading it on ebook. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it this much, so now I'm gonna have to buy it, and then you can buy it.
No, it's amazing. But I wanted to take a minute before we continue talking about it, because I think it was the dedication that initially hooked me, and I want to read it. I know you ladies read it, but we gonna have a little segment here.
Let's do it.
It says, for the living and the dead and those on their way to one or the other. I mean, like, what a way to say everybody. You know what I mean? Like,
And that's the way. And then the way that she like that whole creatures of passage thing is really freaking neat. Just calling like this is what people are. They're creatures of passage. Whether you're, going through it, to like get to the other side, or you're, someone's passing on or whatever. It's just,
And I feel like the part where I think where I got like a little bit confused, I don't know if you guys went through this, like I was always expecting to go to like another realm or like the afterlife or have more of that, but it was never about that. It was just everyday life. And I just feel like the way it was written, like emphasized like it was going to be that, like a dream or like another, but it never got to that. And that was just amazing. And I'm going to let y'all talk because I've been talking too much.
No, I love it. I love everything you're saying and completely 100% agree. I think when you had brought up that she wrote it like it was a fantasy world, but it actually like was set in reality. Like it's just written so metaphorically, but not in a way to where it's hard to understand what's going on because there are so many metaphors thrown your way. Like I kind of felt like when I was reading, I was like, oh, this might get confusing because of all the metaphors. But then like the way that she blends it into reality that makes it so understandable.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Like we talked about this before we went live, but she does have another book.
Yeah.
A book she wrote before this one, and like we're all very interested in.
Yeah, I need to read that one for sure.
Yeah,
and she's gonna be an author that I'm gonna have like my eye out for, and I'm gonna follow. And anything she releases is gonna be like,
for sure.
I think this one took her like years to write too, from what I had understood when I like was reading about it.
Yeah.
I think it was like somewhere around like 15 years in the making. Like it was
Wow.
Her last book was in 2014, which was her debut, the one that we're just talking about. So and if she was working way before that with this book, amazing.
So
yeah, we were talking to, were we live when we were talking about?
I can't remember if we were like live for some parts. So I'm trying to like repeat things, but I don't know if it's like just me repeating the earlier.
We were talking about how we didn't, like, at least I didn't read the whole synopsis. All I knew was the woman had a haunted car and she helped people travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know anything about the pedophilia and sexual abuse timeline or whatever, which
surprised. Yeah.
It was really dark and sad and scary, like for the children and everything, of course. But like, it wasn't, I'm not going to not read a book because of something like that.
Yeah.
But that was just like another thing that I don't want to say like can I say that word on here?
Just say P.
The P word. Yeah, there's a lot of P words, Marcy.
Or like pedo maybe? I don't know.
The monster guy, he that was another way that everyone was connected, and it kept me like intrigued because it turns into this fight to help and save Dash.
Yeah.
Like it just, so like Nephthys is transporting another one of his victims who has grown up and become a sex worker to like get away from him. And she still like thinks about, his name's Mercy, still thinks about him. And then like we follow Mercy as he's still like doing these things, and then find, Dash, the Nephtys's nephew. Sees him doing this, and so he's out to get him. So it turns into like this, it's not like fast-paced thriller or anything, but it turns into like this fight to save him. And like, Amber sees ahead of time. And I just really liked those connections of her driving Rosetta around, who was a victim of him. And then, but the one guy, his mom is like the school nurse who reports that Dash is seeing the Riverman. Like it was just the way it was all entangled, and then finding out like about Dash's dad and his struggles with being a veteran and like what he did in Vietnam and how it like haunts him, and him getting over that to like be able to be there for Dash. Like it was just a lot. It was more than I thought it was going to be emotionally and like everything.
And it didn't seem like a lot while you were reading until you start putting all those things together. You're like, oh, like we just went through it. And I don't know if this happened to anybody else, but like it is, when you see the book from back here, it is all laid out perfectly for you to be like, oh, okay, so those are the dreams that Amber is having. But I never put two and two together between Mercy and Dash, even though we knew that he'd seen something.
Yeah.
Wasn't that crazy? Like at the end, I didn't put together that the dreams that Amber was having had to do with Mercy trying to get to Dash.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that kind of took a while to be revealed. Like eventually we do realize, that Mercy's going to try to get him, but.
And I think it's pretty easy to see, but I did not see that coming. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to be the event that Dash is going to go through? And then when you see him go up to the snow cone or whatever it is, that little thing, you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Stay away.
I just loved that. So like, it's no wonder it took her so long.
I mean, like all of these characters, and every single character has either some sort of grief or drama that they are experiencing. Yeah. And it's a lot. It's when you think back at it, it is a lot a lot of different issues that people are going through that are really, really tough things. And but like you said, while you're reading it, it doesn't feel like that because you're just in another person's story.
Yeah, and you're just enjoying it all together,
like, oh my God, like wow, like all of these people and all of their just pain. It's just and a lot of brutal deaths in the story too.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like it was just like a fantastical soap opera.
Yeah, it really felt that way. Absolutely.
Kim, I think that they demonetize your videos if you say one of those things, but I think that's all that happens is that you get demonetized. I'm not sure though.
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't noticed anyone saying panorama, but I'm gonna take your word for it.
I've heard like people switching out
because of misinformation. Okay, that makes sense. So now it's kind of like censored, and that's why they demonetize people for saying it, because they're just assuming they don't want information out there that's maybe false.
Yeah, but the same thing like when it happens with that's happening because of that. But like if you mention like the R word, RAPE or pedo or something like that, I think it's just that you get demonetized.
That makes sense. So what would you say your favorite part was?
I think it was, there were so many, but I think
we talked about your favorite chapter, so that's probably
I think that's gonna have to be it when we realize that it's Osiris in the background, and just his daughter seeing her, like that scene with the window that she can't see anything else, but she sees her dad, and I was ugly crying.
Okay, when I read that part, that's when I was like, oh, Marcy's crying. She cried right here. This is where Marcy cried, because I was, and I don't really cry.
Oh my gosh. And then I was like, because we see that Nephthys is at the top of the house and she's like wondering what's happening. And I'm like, go down there to see your brother. But she never does, but he makes it to her. And when they touch the finger.
Oh, I know. Because it opens up with Nephthys, and constantly she's grieving over her brother. So it's like when they finally get to see each other.
I was dead when she's like, I knew that he was next to me, but I didn't want to look. And when he looked and he's there, and then his was a glow, and it passed the glow to, because she was just like, my glow is gone off my half finger. But then when they reunite, and then, he's able to move on.
That was so beautiful.
It was
just like one of my favorite endings of anything that we have read.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It was a surprisingly kind of happy ending.
Yeah.
The whole book, I was kind of like, this is not going to be good.
How dark the book is, considering how dark it is, having that happy ending was so refreshing. I think I would have been disappointed had it gone any other way.
I love. I didn't think we were gonna see Dash's father Red. I was very happy when we saw him and how he came upon everything. How Nephthys, got to get him to come, and because you didn't know what she was trying to do with the drug addict at first, and then when when everything ties down together and you see that he went to go find Red, I'm like, oh, and then Red's story was just heartbreaking as well.
Yep.
Yes. Everything that he went through, like Carol was saying earlier, like with the war and what,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so sad.
He didn't even know about Dash. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like, oh, he just, ran off or something, or,
He got scared or whatever it was,
Yeah.
but no, he didn't even know he had a son.
No.
Oh my. And whenever they would say, I forgot who it was, but for example, like they would look at Dash and say, oh, you look exactly like him. Or when they would look at Amber, that she looked exactly like Osiris, and I guess the sister couldn't handle it. I mean, everything,
Right.
like, it was just so beautiful. I need to stop gushing about this book.
I mean, that's what we're here for, is to talk about it. So, I mean, I had written down like a few things probably at the start of it, but then the rest of it, I just ended up reading the book and just enjoying it. And like, I couldn't stop to like take notes or anything.
Because it would pull you out of the story probably. I was going to do that. I was going to do notes, but I'm like, you know what? I can't. I was just devouring it.
I did definitely at first just to keep track of everything because there are like so many different characters. I think the one qualm I have with it is the fact that there are two characters. One's named Amy and one's name's Amber. And that just bothered me because I was like, they're too close. You need a different name.
Who was Amy? I don't remember Amy.
Amy was the white woman who Osiris, who like wanted to have an affair with Osiris, who like her husband was the one that killed him, like murdered him.
Yes.
But it was just like when that first story came up, I was just like, that just like bothered me that they're. And it wasn't even that I got that confused, but I was like, if we're gonna keep mentioning these characters, like but luckily that didn't really happen. I was like, that's the only thing I didn't like about it, because you have these like names that are too similar.
Yeah, I took notes for each character, just little things, just to remember.
Yeah.
Just in case. And then I like highlighted a couple quotes that I liked, but I was just in it.
I know. I wish I would have highlighted more like quotes and things, though. That's the only thing. But let's see, what else did I want to bring up? Well, Osiris's death, his murder, like that entire storyline was really, really messed up.
Yeah.
And it, like, I don't know if it reminded you guys at all of the story of Emmett Till. Did it remind you guys of that at all? Have you ever heard of Emmett Till?
Yeah, but
and like just the way, like the brutality of it, and then like I don't know why it just like brought that to memory. And then
I've never heard of that book.
He was like he was younger. He was like 14 or 15 years old, something like that. And it was in the 50s, and he went to a convenience store. He was a young black boy. Went to a convenience store and said like, "Hey, sweetie," or something like that to the white woman working at the counter. And she had told her husband, and him and his friends had like beaten him and killed him. And
that was it was at the start of the Tulsa race riots.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they claimed that he harassed her or something.
Yeah, and all he did was say like, "Oh, like bye, sweetie," or "honey," or something like that. And like, it was just like a horrible, horrible, horrible murder. But it was much like similar to the way that Osiris died. Like it was just
they
like
dragged
men
him through the
him. Huh?
I think didn't they drag Emmett Till through the streets?
Yeah.
Back to a car. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad.
Oh my gosh, I hated that woman when she said that lie to her husband.
I know.
I hate like one thing I hate reading about is that like whenever they use that kind of trope, it pisses me off so bad. Thank God it was like quick and like I was so pissed.
Yeah.
So anger inducing.
I do like though that he goes back and like torments.
Absolutely. Like and if he wouldn't have had that revenge, I would have been so mad.
Yeah, and that he gets the man that ran over or that hit his wife.
Yes.
Oh, I was like, yes.
Absolutely. And that's what's so satisfying about this book is like, I don't think there is a stone unturned.
Nope.
Everything is just like, everything gets an end and everything gets an explanation.
Yeah. You
So
know,
as fantastical as it is, as like this off the wall that it is, most of these books that we read that are in that weird realm often have like open endings or, some type of like thread that wasn't tied up at the end that we could just imagine what could have happened. There's really no having to worry about that with this one.
You know, the only thing I was gonna mention was the white girl in the trunk of the car, the white ghost. And although we did get a whole story on her and we get a resolution on her, I feel like she was just there like to huff and moan in the background while everything else is going on.
Yeah.
But I wanted a little bit more of the relationship between Nephthys and this ghost. I don't know if they do have a relationship or the ghost is just there because she's there. She can't do anything else. But I feel like we got clearance from Osiris and he was able to move on. The little girl that Red shot was able to move on. But this white ghost little girl never gets to move on. And I don't know. I wanted to hear more from her.
I think it would have been a great opportunity for her to be like the comic relief or something in the,
like the smart ass in the trunk.
Yeah, like maybe like anytime like something in the car is like said, someone says something and then like her witty comeback.
She's like thumping.
She like tells it as it is and super blunt and stuff.
Yeah, like I think that could have been pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Because think about all the things, people and their different experiences that she would have learned about just being in that trunk. She would be like, oh my God, I've seen this before. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
It was such a sad story. Hers was such a background story, but so sad.
There are so many different small like background stories throughout, like from the people that Nephthys picks up and everything. Like there's like the woman who lost her son, the man and wife who lost their son, like it's just like crazy. Like it's so much. And when I was reading that, I was like, this is why I cannot just like drop this book or just rush through it, because there's just so
much.
Yeah.
So good.
Everyone has their demons and their struggles, and we're all just creatures of passage.
Yeah. Comes full circle.
I want to see, do you guys have like quotes marked on your books? Which one's like your favorite quote?
Okay.
I'm going to look.
Pull up my Goodreads because I got my Kindle highlights.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Can I go first?
Yes,
of course. Go for it.
Okay, so did you guys talk about the wolf when I was gone?
No. Oh, no, we did not.
We haven't even touched on the wolf.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, this quote's about the wolf. And it's, the wolf watched the people at the picnic busy with distraction, and he thought of the things that men accepted or denied and the things that happened to one generation in the absence of another. But most of all, he'd always wondered, down through the ages and in different realms, how these creatures of passage could be so careless. How could they see and not see something so precious as their young? And that's like the picnic where Dash is
taking
getting the lemonade or whatever.
Yeah. I remember exactly when you were mentioning. I knew exactly what part that was.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I like this one. Oh, I love this one. Of course, I marked them.
Like, oh, dang, that looks good. I've got another.
Okay.
If you want, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, you guys.
I think I'm gonna do 2. So, do you have another one, Carol?
Yeah.
Okay, say it.
Okay. Rather, the worry of man was the worry of all creatures, the great fear of all souls seeking passage through the empires of the world, of all travelers of the labyrinth byways of one existence to another, the dread that before they became shadow and mist, they would never find the place where they belong.
Love it.
Me too.
Love it. Okay, so in one of mine, this is where at the beginning of the book where Dash is reading the letter that the nurse sent of him getting in trouble or whatever. But down below this, where she's asking dash, what about the riverman? Whatever. And so this part goes, and in her years of ferrying souls from one place to the next, she'd learned that people were as real or as unreal as others wanted them to be, which was one of the reasons why she drank. But I love that, you know, that people were as real or as unreal as others wanted them to be. And then another part that I loved, this was like more 175 pages in, it says, the song played on and Nephthys took another drink, thinking of the boatman. She once had that kind of love too, but in accordance with their dark irony with which creatures of passage live, she'd learned that loving a wandering heart was the most difficult kind of love there was.
This book is so good.
So good. So good.
Oh.
There are like so many of those moments that are perfect. I'm going to step away because she's a diaper situation.
Go for it. Go for it.
I'll be right back.
Go for it.
Okay, then I'm going to read one more then.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes quotes are weird because, like, if you read them out of context, like, maybe it wouldn't make sense because you haven't read the book.
Yeah.
In her time on the streets, Rosetta had learned that most people didn't know how strong a 15-year-old girl could be, and they also didn't know how weak she could be. When the worst that can happen to her has already happened, and she knows all there is to know about the rise and fall of women down through the ages and doesn't need anything else explained.
Yeah. Wow, that was fantastic.
I have another quote about the milking, and
The milking?
She just equates it to the ongoing drain of her soul, and that just really hurt my heart.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's rough. That's rough. It was rough. Was it in this one? Because I feel like I'm reading another book was it in this one where it is, where he is with the girl and he's telling her like what the grown-ups don't tell her about her top part.
That's the milking. The milking.
Yeah, that was so rough to read that specific scene, like in all this fantastical stuff, and then she slaps you with this, and you're just like, wow, what a
right. Like even us saying like, oh, we weren't expecting that. Like, it's not like she doesn't go into extreme detail, but she goes into more than once we hit that was a plot line. These things were going to happen. She still kept going. I was like, oh,
yeah,
not expecting to go that deep.
Yeah,
but
she really touches on some dark subjects, but the way she eases into it, it almost feels like it's like readable, but not at the same time of how harsh it is.
Yeah, I feel like she tricks you with that beautiful writing. You're like, oh, this is so beautiful. Oh my God, what is this?
And then Mercy comes along. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, so didn't talk about the wolf. That's the only thing that I'm kind of confused. Like this wolf.
Me too. I feel like we didn't get a lot of explanation, and then you almost feel like the mom was the wolf, but how did that, like, there was never
like the wolf like took over her or like helped her, gave her the power or whatever. Yeah. And like I keep trying to because like Nephthys and Osiris are like Egyptian gods.
Yeah.
So I keep trying to think like, is this supposed to be Anubis, which is like the god with the wolf
head? Yeah.
So but I think I might have just found it. Hold on.
Yeah, maybe.
He's a jackal, which is a wolf, right?
Uh-huh.
Or they used to think he was a jackal. But this is saying that he was replaced by Osiris in his role as the Lord of the Underworld. So maybe that's where she's getting like the wolf from.
The wolf from, maybe. Because we see him a couple times just in the background, just watching. And we don't really get him or her until Amber. And so I thought that there was going to be a connection there. Like, I don't know, she used to check on her child like that, or she used to turn, I don't know what I was expecting there. But that's probably the only part where I was a little bit confused.
Yeah, And like maybe it is like the one being waiting for Osiris to do his thing, get his revenge, accept his fate, and move on, and then he'll take over for him. And that's kind of why he's doing the watching, like the wolf is doing like the overseeing.
Yeah.
But I did like that at the end, like it's Amber that's, even if it is with this wolf's help, Amber's the one that saves Dash.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I love how he comes in and how Red comes in and saves Amber as well. You know, like, oh, you know, I didn't know about our son or whatever, but here I am to save the day kind of thing, you know, with the, you know, at least he did something good as opposed to the bad thing that he did when he was at war.
Right. It's like him getting, I don't know if getting over it is the right term, but like being able to accept the past, he's been able to like make things right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
make amends almost, like, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. His story is sad. That was
so sad. And how he comes upon that cave. And so this is, I'm confused on this one, on this part too. When he goes down to that cave, it's all in his head, right? Because then there's a part that he says that when I got out of my head and came to, so I guess that was all playing in his mind.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it made it sound like, but like why then he takes or shows the drug dealer,
the find out guy, yes.
Yeah, so I feel like it has to be something with
be a place.
Yeah, as well, because then it wouldn't have, there would be no reason to
take him,
and like to a specific location instead of being like, oh man, you just need to meditate, you know, like just chill out.
But there was an actual place that he took him to. That you're right.
Yeah, it's like all these normal typical places are just like right on the cusp of like the two different worlds or whatever.
I wish I could have like an image of Amber's cottage or hut or something, like like an actual picture to see. This would be a great movie.
Yeah, like something, it'd have to be, I don't know the right word for it, but like just very artsy, I feel like.
Yeah.
But you know what else was interesting is like the one, was he a newspaper guy or something, that they would just like, oh yeah, Amber knows how people are going to die, so we're just going to post it in the newspaper.
Lottery guy.
Like, everyone's just okay with
like I would be like knocking her door down or something, and
everyone would want to know everything, but no, they just posted in the newspaper.
Man,
efficient. So
the lottery, that was crazy.
That was funny.
The lottery is something like I would totally read out of the newspaper, like on the daily. I'd be like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?"
But imagine,
I'd be so scared.
Curiosity, like I would have to read it. Like I know there's some characters in the book that are like, "I don't read the lottery. I don't bother with it at all." And like me, I'm just like, I would be reading that as soon as it came out.
But like, it's not even like super specific. So you have that one woman that it talks about her husband hurting his arm when obviously it's a heart attack. So it's not even like the same. You could be like a woman whose husband works in a factory where he could lose his arm.
Yeah.
Versus like just anybody who could have a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
Like it would be, I would be making connections for every single one, like to my own.
Yes.
For people.
Yeah,
like
that's why I wouldn't read it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't read it because I wouldn't be able to live life. I would just like be throwing it away reading this and like thinking that it's me all the time.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I would definitely think it was me all the time, but I would not be able to contain myself. Like I would have to know. I would have to know what it says.
Could not.
Oh my gosh. I know in like one review someone had compared her to Tananarive Due, and I think that was like pretty legit, having read a couple of her books, like The Between, which is also a 5-star read for me. Like it gives me like the same type of vibes, even though like that one's not fantastical or anything.
I have that one on my currently reading. I'm like working on this huge, like the month of August for me is going to be trying to catch up on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads because there's 25 books in there. Yeah, from like 3 years ago, girl.
Do they let you have that many?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
currently
you can have
reading
up to-
25 books right now.
Yeah, you could, and you know what happens? This is because I've had books there for 3 years, like literally 3 years to the date. I have one book on there. And so what happens is like I'll be reading these books for group reads or buddy reads or whatever. And then the time comes to an end and I got to move on to other books. And I'm like, oh, I'll get back to that. I'm enjoying it. And I never do. So they just keep stacking there.
Yeah.
And so The Between is one of those books that's in there. So I'm hoping to get to that one.
Oh, I would love to know your thoughts on that one because
I've
I
read-
loved that book so much.
I've read 2 stories in Ghost Summer, and you're right. It gives me the writing style is almost very similar. Love both
Yeah,
of their
I
writing
feel like
styles.
you will love The Between, or
Yeah.
at least I hope.
I'll keep you updated.
It's like compulsively readable, just like this one.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. I remember loving what because I think I've read like 20% of the book already, and I remember loving it. So
I DNF'd The Good House.
did you?
Yeah.
The Good House was a bit long for me. It was a bit long. I think I ended up giving it 3 or 3.5 stars. I did enjoy the concept. I liked I liked a lot of like the kind of like voodoo stuff that was talked about in that book. There was a lot of stuff that I felt like could have been cut out. I think that book was a little too long.
Is that her first book? I think it's one of her oldest books, isn't?
I don't know if it is or not.
I don't know. Have you read anything else by her, Carol? Or did you stop there? And
I stopped
Yeah.
there.
you might want to try Ghost Summer. It's just
Yeah.
short stories. I think it's like, is it 4 or 5 stories or something?
Or even
like
The
that?
Between isn't very long either. I think it's
Okay.
only like a couple hundred, maybe like 250 pages
Okay,
or
that's
something
not
like
bad.
that. Not
Oh.
very long. And like I said, like it's so compulsively readable. Like I read it I think I read it for a readathon and I read it in 2 days. Because I was just like,
I remember
really
when you
into
read
it.
it. Yes, you even
Mhm.
blogged about it, right?
yeah, I was really into the story. And then I read The Good House after that. And then I was like, this book is long.
Oh, yeah,
It
that's
just
a
felt really,
chunker.
really long to me. Yeah,
I think I own The Good House here, and it's a really thick one.
it is. That one's close to 500 pages, I think.
It gets
Wow.
a lot of praise though.
It does.
Yeah, and it has some like really good like dark stuff in there. But it's just there's a lot of backstory of like a lot of characters and like their past together and stuff that I was just like, do we need it? And there's this romance thrown in there too. It's like sometimes it's just better left with like you just don't have to have that. Like
Yeah.
well, at least I feel that way. I don't think there has to be a love interest in every
Yeah,
book
definitely
we
not.
read. So for that, but for me, like, I don't think the love interest was necessary. It was just like someone, this guy that she grew up with and stuff. Like she was, it was like her first love or whatever. And then they kind of like rekindle the relationship like later on in life. But like there's so much backstory about like them and trying to make that romance work or seem believable. It was just like, we don't need this.
Yeah, you know what? Like The Between was actually, I think it's one of her first books, 1995, as to where The Between was, The Good House was written in 2003. So it's not. I was thinking maybe it was one of her first books, and but no, actually, the Between is probably her first book.
Really,
I have
that
My
book.
Soul to Keep
One of
sitting
my
here, which was her second book. So I'll read some more.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested in more of this author too. So
For sure. I am I cannot
what
wait.
was
for her
that
to
book
come out
called
with more.
again? Her other book?
In
Just
the
so like people in the
Locust,
chat
or-
if they do want to check it out.
In the Locust.
Time of the Locust.
There.
Time of the Locust.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like the cover of that one too.
It kind of like matches with this one, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like watercolor almost.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked. Like, I mean, I know the Creatures of Passage is fairly new, but like there's only 250, 300 reviews or something on Goodreads.
Mm-hmm.
And then even the Locust one has less than that. Like,
Less than that, yeah.
but
It
the
must be
Creatures
like
of
a-
Passage, why are people not reading this?
Yeah. With it being like a newer release and everything.
Yeah, this was released in March. So maybe that's why, you know, sometimes it takes people a while to get to these new books.
Yeah. Especially since it's been a while since her first one.
Yeah.
And I wonder, was the first one? Maybe that was like Indie Pub or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm wondering. I think she's more of an indie. Wait, who did this one? I don't even like know who this Akashic Books.
Sorry, she was demanding milk. She was like, give him your cup. Just like, hello, cup.
No, you see, the other one, Time of the Locust, was published by Atria, and they're pretty known. But this one is kind of, I don't know who Akashic Book is.
The only reason I knew about this book was through like trying to look for weird books for the club. Like, if I had not seen anyone review it or talk about it or even mention like wanting to read it, like just a very little known book and a little known author, I think.
I'm glad you chose it because this is probably a book that I would have never come across.
Oh, I know. I never heard of it until you brought it up.
I think it really was perfect for the group, but yeah, I think people are kind of sleeping on it a little bit because you know, we felt that way too, that like we were just hesitant going in.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of always like that when you read from a new author, like a new to you author, you know, you never know what to.
Especially on weird books, because it's not the same thing as reading like, you know, a regular.
Well, and look at like, it's just, I think about all the books that you're missing out on, because think about What Big Teeth that we read earlier this year and how freaking hyped that was, and nobody liked it. And then now this one, we're like barely anybody's read it, and it was so good.
Yeah, like why is nobody else like, you know, we need to like scream from the mountaintops, really courageous. But you know what? Then you have people like, you know, Amy couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't think it's gonna be, I think this is gonna be like an acquired taste kind of book, which sucks.
Yeah. And you know, this is one of those books where if I had been in a different mood, I
probably
like when it comes to writing styles.
Yep.
Sometimes like my mood affects what I am reading so much.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. That happens to me too. And I think what caught me was the dedication. I think once I read that dedication and the way it was worded, I was like, oh man. And then I read that first line and I was a little confused. I'm not going to lie. When I read Nephthys, I'm like, wait, who is this? Am I going to have to go to like a God's kind of thing? You know, and then I read the title. I was like, Ferryman. I read the synopsis right then and there because I'm like, I think this is one of those books where it's going to be a good thing to read the synopsis, like so that I'm not too confused. I felt like I didn't get enough from the synopsis.
That actually didn't reveal as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when I read Nephthys Skinwell was not a savior of souls, I was like, yeah, I'm sold, baby. That's it.
Just she just like, even when she's like talking about mere like just normal places, like she'll be like in the kingdom of Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like just the way that it's just the way that it's worded, it does make it kind of sound fantastical, but it's like the little cherry on top of the writing that it's just like, wow. Like,
when it kept saying the quadrants at the beginning, that's where I kept getting like, oh, okay, are we talking about another dimension?
But no, real life or what? And like, it is the real world, but it's written like it's a fake place.
Yes.
So so I guess this is like urban fantasy, magical realism.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. And I don't
even know if you would call it fantasy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely magical realism. It says sci-fi fantasy.
Sci-fi, no.
It says fantasy fiction, horror, magical realism, historical fiction, sci-fi fantasy.
I guess the historical fiction is because of like
it's
the
set in the
70s,
right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's set in 77.
Okay. Yeah. And then you go back to the war times and all of that, and it talks about the war, so it makes it historical in a way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
See, but wait a second. Oh, okay. I was about to say, because I flipped to this page and it says a unique and astounding debut, but I'm like, this is not what they're talking about. Time of the Locust. I think it won like awards and stuff.
And is that one like similar? Is that one like a magical?
Oh, I didn't look at the genres of that one.
I think it has. I think it's similar genres.
Fiction, magical realism, autistic spectrum disorder.
Oh, I think the boy that I know the boy has something.
Oh, okay. He's
an extraordinary autistic boy in this deeply imaginative debut novel of a mother's devotion, a father's punishment, and the power of love. And it's set in the 60s.
Be written absolutely beautifully, just like that.
Yeah, it's set in the 60s to the mid 90s, from New York to Washington. Oh, I'm so excited.
I feel like that would probably make me cry.
Buy that one physically too. Yeah,
right. Join the crying club, Carol.
Yes.
Things just, man, this sounds so cheesy, but since becoming a mom, things just hit different, man.
They do.
They really do.
They do. You can't do anything about that. It's just like this inside thing that happens and you're done.
I read The Push by Ashley Aldrain earlier this year.
Okay. Yeah.
And I read that one. Sobbed. I was like sobbing.
Really?
Who am I?
I have that one right there. Don't make me pick it up. I'm in the middle of a project.
No.
Are you singing? Rah, sharp tooth.
Robin, show everybody your book.
She ordered the books for the next 2 months, but didn't purchase this one. And then I'm like, I'm kicking myself in the ass for not purchasing this one.
I won't read The Push. Why are you not going to read The Push, Kim?
I won't read it. Why?
What is it about? What am I missing?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those books where you're either going to love it or hate it.
What'd you end up reading it, Carol?
I'm going to read the synopsis.
Did you end up reading that one?
Yeah, I read it. Oh, what did I rate it?
Yeah, what did you rate it?
5 stars.
Oh, okay. I'm excited.
It has
anything bad about kids?
Mess me.
Oh, maybe Kim is the same. It's just, it hits different. It hits too bad.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
I think I cried myself to sleep that night. I could not.
Really? I need a good cry, so maybe I'm ready for that one.
Yeah, and it's
I'm really surprised that I didn't cry while reading Creatures of Passage, to be honest.
Yeah. And there's in The Push, there's a son around the same age as my son, and it was just like too much.
I think it's because I rarely cry at happy endings. Like for some reason, like if it's happy, it doesn't affect me. Yeah.
I like either happy, devastating, sad. I mean, if it makes me cry from happy or whatever, I'm all about it. Mm-hmm. But I'd rather a more dramatic cry, than a very happy cry.
Yeah, and it really depends on where I'm at in my cycle and how tired I am.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, if I had a long ass day, it's easier for me to cry.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. I would stay away from it, Kim. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would. A Lesson of Vengeance arrives tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Which one is that one for? I haven't written
that. That is our September pick.
September.
August is The Taking of Jake Livingston.
I'm excited for that one. That cover.
I heard somebody say that it's super dark and not just like ghost paranormally type stuff, that there's a lot of very serious, dark like topics. So not just like supernatural stuff. So beware of that. Because I know some people were like not prepared for the child stuff in Creatures of Passage.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I heard someone talking about trigger warnings for the Jake Livingston one, but I kind of blocked it out because I don't want to know. Like I don't necessarily need them and I don't want to know. But I do know there's some, if you need them.
Triggering
because it sounded like
I don't need content.
I know you don't, Miss like Western slasher, like the
Let me dive right in.
Oh my God, what's that guy's name that wrote Dead Inside?
Chandler Morrison, Lord Jesus.
Wow.
That's
I
another
feel like
book you should not read, Kim.
I feel
Yeah, stay
like
away.
I need a cleanse, like a spiritual cleanse every time I read a Chandler Morrison book. I just cannot with myself. Like,
Yeah,
no.
an exorcism.
Probably.
Bring it on. Like,
Probably.
I want the book that makes me feel uncomfortable for enjoying it. Like, I want that.
You know what? And I would tell you, like,
Why?
try Dead Inside, but Dead Inside wasn't even enjoyable. Like, there was nothing to enjoy. Not even if you were like, I don't know, like, no.
No, it's a no from me.
No, it's the
It should be a no from, well, I'm not going to say from everyone, but
everybody has their thing, but like it's to me there's no point in it really. There's not, I mean, a lot of people, don't get me wrong, I love Morrison's writing because he can keep me engaged even when I don't want to read something, but it's not, I don't know, I didn't find any kind of enjoyment other than his writing style in the topics of Dead Inside basically. But
Really,
like, you know, like for example, have you ever read Hell House? I think it's Hell House, not the Richard Matheson one, or Hotel Hell. Hotels Hell World, something like that. It's like one of these books where it's like sadistic and like devil worshiping and rituals and like cutting up people, and it's like a haunted house, kind of a real, and they go, like, people go in there and they end up killing them. It's like a crazy family. That kind of stuff, like maybe it's like enjoyable, like that's the kind of shit that you feel like weird enjoying.
Brutal for the sake of being brutal.
Of just being brutal,
for
yeah.
No reason. Yeah.
I don't mind reading those and I'm okay with those, but like with Dead Inside, I'm like, just a little, no.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's not for me.
I don't think, I try it, but it's very short, but I don't think it's not something that I would, if I knew somebody had like extreme horror taste, it's not something that I would recommend even with knowing that.
Right. Oh, terrible. Yeah.
But a lot of people love it. Everybody that I read it with, like, gave it 5 stars.
Really?
But I mean, I don't really have a line to draw when it comes to stuff, but
But that one,
that might be it. That might be it.
I think it's for me too.
That book is the line specifically.
Yeah, but I want to read Along the Path of Torment. But I'm still, especially now after reading The Human-Shaped Fiends, I need some time to get there.
Yeah.
Kim,
I need something light and fluffy in between.
Yeah.
On a lighter note,
Evelyn Hugo. I poured with Evelyn Hugo.
I recommend that book to literally anyone.
Everybody, yeah.
Like, that's always the book that comes to mind first.
Yeah. My best friend.
It kind of reaches just a little, it's not that it's like reaches different genres, I guess, but I feel like anyone who reads it will enjoy it. It's
more contemporary, and it's like, you know, just, but my best friend, she likes to read, but she's not a reader. Like, she just doesn't go buy a book and she just doesn't sit down. So when I read this one, I immediately ordered it for her, and I'm like, listen, any chance, it took her a year to read it because she has a busy life.
Right.
But she loved it so much. Anybody that reads it.
No, it's so good. I've actually been thinking about rereading it at some point.
So good. I need to read Malibu Rising still, but I don't think it's going to be as good.
Probably not. I feel like Evelyn Hugo is like the top tier as far as Taylor Jenkins Reid, but I don't know. I haven't read any of her other books. I've only read that one.
Well, I've read multiple books from her. After reading The Seven Husbands, I read Daisy Jones and the Six, loved it. I've read her One True Loves, loved it. Each book that I've read of hers has been 5 stars, and each book has made me cry. Aww. Every one of them.
I would love to know your like crying to not crying ratio. Like, as far as like the books that you have read so far, how many have made them cry?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Probably like 90% of them with the stupidest things. But I don't know. Honestly, I can't remember.
I love it though.
That's great. I love when a book, like, even if it's not crying, it just maybe like makes you super happy. I don't know. I just want it to like elicit something.
Yes.
Yeah. has some sort of like impact on
Yes.
your emotions or.
I mean, I'd rather
yeah.
have the ones that make me cry, because there's been books that have just brought up this like dread that I just can't continue reading it, but not because the book is bad or anything, but because it just gives me this dreadful feeling that it takes from me.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the book or anything before?
It was fantastic. Everybody needs to read it. Whether
Yeah.
and the
Take it from
audiobook,
us. You should check
audiobook
it
was
out.
great.
I don't have
The Honeymooners was a good one. I really liked
The
it.
Honeymooners was so
That's a
good.
really good book. That would make a great movie. I know you were saying like this one would, but
Yeah.
The Honeymooners, that would make such a great movie.
Yes.
That's the one where they go on the honeymoon after the food poisoning, right?
Yes.
I think they are making something out of that.
Are
Are
they?
they?
They really should, because it would be hilarious.
I might
Like
be
I could
confusing it with
see that as a romantic comedy. Like, should check that out. Because I would. That's the only Christina Lauren book I've ever read, but
Me
I
too.
loved it.
I usually don't read stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah, I usually don't read her books at all. I mean, I have like one of her books that I'm like, I would like to read this one at some point, like if
I've
I'm in a romance mood.
Yeah.
But I'm rarely in one of those. But I've seen like Gabby gush about it, and then I was like, I really want to read that, and I listened to it on audiobook and finished it so fast because it was just like
I
so
read it poolside in like one day, like in hours, because it was so good. But I've read by them too. I read The Honey Don't List. It was all right. I think I gave it like 3 stars.
Yeah,
and then
I don't think a lot of people ended up enjoying that one very much.
I feel like if you read The Unhoneymooners and then The Honey Don't, it's like completely like no. And then I've also read In a Holidays, and I enjoyed that one more, but I have yet to find that the one that tops The Unhoneymooners by them.
Yeah, the one I have is like hating you,
dating you,
and hating, something to do with dating and hating. But I was just like, okay, maybe I'll read this because I kind of like that, like enemies to lovers type deal.
Love,
so
yes.
I was like, oh, maybe I'll read it, and then I haven't picked it up at all.
It got picked up to be made into a movie.
My gosh, I can't wait. That's such a good one.
Yeah, it's so good. I'll be like first in line. And I don't even watch romantic comedy movies.
Me neither.
I never watch them when they come out. Like I'm just like,
Yeah, but this one's a must.
I would definitely go for this one. Like my favorite romantic comedy is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I love that freaking movie.
I haven't seen that one.
Dude,
there was a point in time in my life where I did watch romantic comedies, but they were always intermingled with horror. It was almost like I would watch 5 horror movies and then the one romantic comedy that'll just make me forget all the horror and make me fall in love. And then I would go back to horror.
Hi. Hi, honey. Say hi.
So cute.
What's up, you? He's like, what is going on?
He's like, oh, they're looking at me. Oh.
Can you say hi? Put your hands up. Say hi. You go shy?
Oh.
He's like, I'll just sit here and look cute. That's enough, Mom.
That's fine. That's fine with us. We don't mind.
And I love how the dog is like, hey, what are you doing with him? What's going on?
He's like, what are you doing with my baby?
Yeah.
They're best friends.
I bet. That's so cute.
You want to go? Go ahead.
I love it.
Well, I better sign off because he needs a diaper change and has to go.
Yeah. I'm going to have to start cooking some dinner too. So
it's time.
Like we said, you guys should totally check this book out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't even think we spoiled it so much to where no one could enjoy it still. Like you just have to read it for the writing alone.
Yes. And to see how it's woven together, I think that even with spoilers, you'll still get so much.
Yeah, there's so many characters we didn't even cover, like Rosetta and stuff. Like I feel like
it's not. I don't think I think it's still worth the read for sure.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All
So
right,
hopefully you guys will be
y'all.
joining us next month for the taking of Jake Livingston. We will probably have the reading sprints sometime in the middle of August. I'm either
Good.
thinking the 12th or the 19th, so it just depends. I'll see my schedule tomorrow and know for sure. So depending on what time I get off of work or whatever, either one of those days will be sprints. I might try to host some other sprints too, just depending on how I feel throughout the month, because that's the only time I'm getting a good amount read anymore.
Yeah.
But thanks everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kim, for
Kim.
always showing up. She's always there. I love it.
Well, and Kim wants to know if you would ever consider doing a video about how to use Discord, Carol.
Yeah, I could.
I would find it very helpful.
If I
Actually.
screen record using it on the computer, maybe I'll have to look and see what the difference is between like on the computer and the phone. I can throw something.
Maybe you could do like a little short, like you did a day in the life of, maybe like a little like Discord how to kind of thing.
Yeah, because I have a Discord like on my own for my own channel, and I've done like buddy reads and stuff on there, and I've got a read along in September that's gonna happen. And so like, yeah, I can throw something together because I just set up the channels for the taking of Jake Livingston too. So
yes,
I could do
we
something.
always appreciate that, Carol. I'm so glad that you know what you're doing.
She's the best with Discord.
You really, really are, because I have no idea what's going on over there.
I never go in there. I always forget.
Yeah,
I am starting to love it actually. Like the more, like it took me a while to get used to it, but
yeah, I think like that video would be so helpful to make me want to use it more. So if I knew how to use it better, I feel like I would use it more, to be honest.
Cool.
It's a great interface, I think. All right. So thanks again, guys. We'll see you in like a few weeks or whatever. But yeah, I'll keep you guys all updated on Instagram, and you know where to find us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.